Yes, it's very simple to start with, and then it can be as complex and involving as you like. You find your own level, and even within the group, even if you're playing a complicated piece and you're a newcomer, you know, there are simple parts that you can play and really join in. And some of the work that my brother's done with so special needs children and disabled children, you know, when you see them, and all they're doing is hitting a drum, but they're part of this big magical sound, and they're an important part of it, and you can see that pride and involvement. So there's lots of different, it's a very, very welcoming, very inclusive sort of music that whatever your ability, there's something for you to do.
To begin with, they were a little bit, you know, oh, this is a bit different, we're not really quite sure about this, but then as soon as they sit down and they actually pick up a beat, and, you know, and they all do the, well, I don't know if I can do that, I'm not really musical. No, it's fine, you just pick up a beat and you just hit something, I'll tell you what to do, it's all right. So, and they soon get into it. And the beauty of it is that you can bring a group of people who are complete beginners, absolute non-musicians, and you can have them playing successfully as part of an ensemble in less than an hour, which is magical, absolutely magical.
It is noticeable that when people join, if they join perhaps in the middle of the year, just one newcomer comes in and a bit of attention from the instructor, and soon they're joining in everything we're doing, playing a simple instrument, but joining in. And we always use this as one of the attractions if people ask about gamelan. That we say this is one of the best things about it, that you can join in with a group from the very early stage, even when you don't know much yourself.
There is one other big advantage for me playing gamelan. When I was a child, I learnt all my Western music from Braille, and that means getting quite big scores and learning a lot of stuff because you can't sight read and play at the same time. Whereas with gamelan, the score is tiny, it's minimal. It's what you do with it on your instrument that counts, of course. So you can actually transcribe a gamelan piece in quite a short space of time. You don't transcribe the whole, everything that the gamelan is doing. You just transcribe the one line of notes, and there you are, you've got it. And then you take your, as you know, you take your instrument and you develop it on that basis. But that means that if I get a new piece, sometimes, for example, we're sitting in the room. If it's a piece I haven't played, somebody will read it to me a few times, and I'll say, right, I think I've got that now. It's much easier than getting a whole score and transcribing that into Braille. That would be incredibly boring. If I had to write out a Mozart symphony or something, that would take months. They can do this in half an hour.
There's something about gamelan which means that people of all different levels can play together, whereas in Western music, even whatever piece it is, it's guaranteed to be about the same level for all players. So I'd say gamelan was more inclusive and in a way more cooperative. Oh, there's also, I suppose, there's more opportunity for different instruments to take leadership instead of there being a conductor or someone in charge. It's more of a group thing.
Yeah, it's a bit. I think it's a bit more stressful playing a Western music thing because it's more like you have a particular part to play, and it's very, very noticeable when you go wrong. And there's so many performance instructions that you have to carry out. Whereas with the gamelan, it's quite a lot of the time. A lot of the time you can't even hear if you make a mistake.
Well, it's just freer, isn't it? I mean, singing the Sindanan part, you'd never get an opportunity in Western music to play without a rhythm. It would always be written down, and then you get to make it up, and it's pretty good.
Everyone tries to help you, or they go, oh, I remember it because of this, or I know it because of this, and you've learnt it from them. It's not like your skill that you've come with, and you have to keep it up yourself, at home by practicing flute and things. It's like you come to gamelan and you develop it with everybody else. So it's like
lack of practicing at home, because
exactly.
You can't. Make it very special.
Yeah, because you can't go home and practice.
I suppose
some people can, but you can't go home and practice and come with your ability, can you? Because practicing is always all together, and it's
you learn and share the knowledge in that room.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes,
and it's like a kind of group memory, isn't it? Because when you're away, I can't remember what happens next. But when everyone's playing, it's like a community memory, isn't it? You kind of everyone else is they link in with all their
most
bits
of things
and-
not written on the paper.
Yeah, and then
That's another special thing.
so that makes it a lot kind of friendlier and everything, and you know, like I enjoy that a lot.
It's a challenge, and not that it is. It's not in any way just a cerebral kind of challenge, because it's a challenge on these other levels as well.
And sorry to.
Yeah.
But I think the other thing that I've really enjoyed, and sort of as we do more and more performances as a group, is this a real excitement when performing of being around other people and knowing that there's going to be a bit that I might always kind of enjoy looking over to this particular person, and then we sort of play it together or something like that. That's and that's very there's something very free about, I guess, because by the point that you're performing something that you've learnt that's absolutely fixed in your hands, you're not really having to worry too much about much of a thought process in that.
No.
But you're then really free to kind of enjoy it within the group.
Yeah, but and then just kind of following on from that, I mean, that's something I've really felt this past, I don't know if it's 4 or 5 months or however long time it is with Leela Cheetah. I've really kind of felt that in some ways there's a kind of group memory in operation.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's not just the case that
there's or not
or not, yeah. But it's not just the case that there are 2 or 3 people who know it very well and you're copying everything you do. It's strange to sometimes imagine yourself playing those parts, I find, in absence of the group being there.
Yeah.
I think gamelan's really good for any musician to really improve their musicianship and listening, and the fact that you can't. I mean, if you come from, say, popular music or dance music, you have to then sort of relearn the sense of timing isn't so metronomic, but everyone moves as a group, through the different tempos, and sometimes we'll just dive into a new tempo, and that's quite an alien thing coming from dance music, and I guess coming from classical music, just the difference of. I mean, some classical musicians do drop the notation, but I think generally when it's taught, it seems to be very, you read from the paper, and I think it's quite refreshing, isn't it?
It is very notation based. And I think I found as an orchestral player that a lot of the time you play the same thing as the person next to you. You can pick up on the tunes that you're playing that are similar, whereas with gamelan music, I tend to feel the changes. I don't know whether, rather than hear them. I don't know whether that. So when the angst become.
Yeah, you listen off the other musical cues, don't you?
Yeah.
I suppose. Yeah.
I sort of feel that it's changing, but to be sitting next to somebody who's playing something not completely different, obviously, but interlocking and actually feeling when it's right, it's great.
I was in a class, and then I did a summer school. I was learning in a summer school the same year, and then I joined what became the Southbank Gamelan Players, so the first performing group that formed in London. And then I applied to do the scholarship, the Dharma Siswa, to go to study in Java, because there was no Balinese Gamelan here at that time. And just before I left, Balinese Gamelan Angklung arrived at SOAS, belonging to Chris Geddes, and then so I thought, while I'm out there, I'll make a note. I'll go and learn some Balinese Gamelan. So I went to study in Solo from 1989 until 91, and I spent several periods in Bali. Well, in fact, in Solo I was learning Javanese Gamelan and Balinese, Sundanese, different types. And then I made some excursions to Bali to study Gamelan Angklung in Tegez. And then when I came back to London, I decided I would form a group learning the Angklung. And it didn't really start happening until about 1992, and then that was Kembang Kirang. So that was the first Balinese group in London.
I started playing with Gamelan Leela Cheetah about more than 10 years ago, I think, just after the gamelan arrived. I'd met the group when I was dancing with them. I had just come back from Bali, where I was doing my doctoral research on Balinese topeng, and I encountered Andy Channing because we were both working on a theatrical show that was using gamelan and Balinese chant and Balinese masks, and he said, "Oh, our group has a gig in Ireland, would you like to come and dance? So having just virtually got off the plane, I said, absolutely, I'll be there. And I was accompanied by, not by gamelan, but by a recording. And the group was playing the gamelan angklung, kembang kirang. And I loved the sound of it. And it was terrific fun. When I was studying topeng in Bali, my teacher kept saying, listen to the gong, listen to the gong. But I was hearing the music on this crappy little cassette machine, and you couldn't hear the gong. You could just barely hear a kind of rusty tinkling in the background. So I had no idea what I was supposed to be listening for in the dance. So when the group acquired the gong kebyar, Lila Chita, I said, oh, I think I really want to learn because I want to be able to hear the gong.
I suppose one thing I found initially very appealing about it was, as a musician, I pick stuff up very fast by ear and rubbish at sight reading. So having been involved in Western music as a teenager, well, through my life really, I was very excited when I started discovering different kinds of music that you didn't need to read anything. So Irish folk fiddle down the pubs in South London to start with. And then the saxophone teacher at my school told me about Indian music and ragas and talas and this whole complex kind of classical structure that didn't require writing anything down. And I was very pleased to discover when I came here and started learning gamelan that, well, okay, there might be some simple Bulungan notation, but actually what you're doing is a lot more complicated and you're deriving your part from a basic bit of notation, or even better, no notation at all. And using your ear and being aware of other instruments in the ensemble, and that made it particularly appealing to me in terms of how I learn music and how I'm comfortable playing it.
But I suppose because it was a music that was connected to the music I was listening to, connected to the music that I was learning to play by ear, crucially, it meant that I felt as if I had a good awareness of what was going on in the rest of the ensemble, to a much greater extent than some orchestral experiences where I was desperately counting 112 bars rest, and then that's just long enough to get you really anxious about the high entry, and then after playing trumpet, then come in and split the note, and then you've got another 112 bar rest to worry about the next entry and the way that you messed up the previous one. And this is not so typical in gamelan, I would say, where most of the time you're playing your part, and if you go wrong, it's not likely to be the end of the world, as long as most people have a fair awareness of what else is going on. It's all rescuable if you've got that kind of ensemble cohesion.
You get different experiences, but the group is quite a mixed, and some players in our group have been playing for many years, and even before I came to live in Cambridge, so they predate my being part of the group, and others are more recent members. But I'm hoping that I hope the group feels comfortable for a variety of people, that are not necessarily particularly musically trained, so that they can just join in and feel comfortable to be part of a music ensemble without too much feeling of pressure. Although I do put pressure on the group, because I put on lots of concerts and we do perform a lot as a group. And but I think I hope I always make it within the bounds of what they feel comfortable with and what they can manage with them. And I think over the years I've seen the group develop in its as individuals, individuals within it, but also as a group generally, in terms of its ability to perform in difficult situations and to take on much more confidence about what they're doing. And so I feel very, very good about that.